All right, game 5 featuring Lilia. They got the flex of the Rel into bot lane, and check this out. They go for the Ziggs. Ziggs is, up there near my favorite champion. One of, if not my favorite champions, and completely underutilized in pro. I love to see Belveth with Ziggs, and you just go for this, 17-minute Nexus. Still haven't seen it paired ever. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments. I'm super happy to see it in game 5 here, flexing the Rel down, and you have basically everyone on this position can flex. You can move Cassante over, you can move Jace top or mid, or in some weird cases you can even put them bot, although that's very, very rare. Lilia can go top and it can go jungle, usually in jungle. Rel's going to be jungle and support. Like, these champions can fly over the map, and you really can create all the favorable matchups that you want. The question is, did they get enough for giving up Renekton in the draft plus Xayah on Ruler on Xayah? Sejuani omnipresent, Alistar being able to counter the engage of someone like a Rel when they're jumping in. But we see a little bit more range and kiting, more poking this time from Ziggs and Jace. Comparing that to the all-in from the Alistar, Sejuani, Renekton. Renekton's just so strong. This is something you're going to see a lot of, Knight pretending to be the carry. There are some tricks that we don't see very often as far as getting rotations in, sneaking rotations in, where you show something like a Xayah, as Nico, and then later you can actually just walk Xayah up into this lane and buy yourself about 15 seconds before they realize that it actually is Xayah. So that's something that you can get. It's very, we'll say it's niche applicable, but it is something to use. A lot of these teams aren't going to use a lot of time on it, but the longer the champions are in the game, the more likely it's going to make it into play. Now we're going to see a full clear here from Sejuani, out-tempoing Lilia. Lilia's going to catch up on tempo a little bit here now with Raptors. She has an insanely quick one, but so does Sejuani. But you see Sejuani already starting red, so a full camp ahead. Now Lilia doing it right, moving over. Actually misses out on that Q. That Q you can wait and you can draw the aggro of the red buff and hit them both. So that's actually another cast. That's another cooldown that's going to put them a little bit further behind. And Sejuani's getting everything done. Basically by 310 is going to be on the map, which means that we may see some pressure here from the Renekton versus Cassante. Now, both sides are playing strong. All right, they're going for their pushes. They know that they have the support of their jungler, so they're using this window to create crashes, right? 4th wave crash. You stack up the 130 wave, the 2, the 230, and the 3. You crash it in because you know you've got the support of your jungler, and that can give you a really good recall timer. In this case, Renekton choosing not to do it. Aiming to just stay up in the top side while they've got Sejuani here. And it looks like because of that small little stall, Sejuani going up and spending a little bit of babysit time up in the top side, Lilia is able to get back in the tempo department and is going to be first back onto respawns. Now, what can they get in exchange? Oh, do you even hit this? I don't know if you even hit this. As Sejuani, I mean, maybe they know they were spotted. Might not have been if they passed through. Didn't actually see exactly the angle that Sejuani took to take that. But I think, more than anything, wanted to just get that resource away, and then they're going to play for the counter wards. Now, each of these teams are like mirror images. If you saw just 10 seconds ago where all the wards were, you can pay attention to where they're playing as strong side. What you're going to see, Sejuani saw all those wards down, knows that Lilia got the scuttle, so you're going to see a minute where they're just going to ignore it and be like, okay, nothing's happening here. I know that you guys can see everything. But a minute from now it starts getting a little bit scary. And now we have to consider, do we have options for dives right here? Might we be the ones that are pushing in? Has Sejuani come in behind us? We're going to use that tempo to get this crash in and then get the recall. Now, Rel trying to trade some HP to try to get a freeze. Keeps Alistar and Xayah here, which means they're going to push one more wave in. It is the 5-minute wave, so there's not even a not even a cannon to show for it. Yeah, they're still going to be able to hold this. Now you just have to bite it and just go get your freeze, go get your buy-in. It's too big of a tempo shot to try to walk in and stop this freeze. Rel doing a great job of never letting those casters touch the wave, touch the turret, means that they'll always be able to be held. And instead, they say, all right, we're not actually looking for our recall. We're going to use this as a dragon timer right on spawn. Essentially, 5:45, this thing will be dropping, which means we can come back over. Now, that's one of the things about Ziggs. Ziggs, a lot of poking potential in lane, super high damage in a half-second burst. But if you get into an extended fight, it becomes a very big problem for Ziggs. Doesn't have the sustained damage unless you have access to all your spells, and you can basically get all your rotations, get a second rotation of your passive off, and then you just have to be done. That has to be the end of it. You will lose everything out. You try to get that full combo, auto into 3 spells into auto. I'm playing for the maximum here. Han coming over, creating some room, lets Jace breathe, gets a recall here. Ziggs using teleport. Now, one of the things that they do have going for them, triple teleport, means that we're going to have a lot of tempo on the map, the ability to push different lanes. Ziggs is the fastest demolitioner in the entire game. The empowered auto from his passive, magic damage procs. You can often go Lichbane. You might see something like Leandry's into Rabadon's Lichbane, something like this from a Ziggs. I'm actually a big fan of Nashor's Tooth as well, which will basically never get played at this level. They're going to go for one iteration, but Nashor's basically has the entire profile that you want. Get a little bit of extra damage in, a little bit of on hit, and you see, boom, upfront damage from Ziggs. This is their big spike, level 6, and you cause the flash. But yeah, like we were saying, with Ziggs, it's all going to be about upfront cooldowns. You can get the maximum amount of damage in, but in a lot of these situations, you can actually flash forward to dodge spells and then punish the fact that, hey, you're Ziggs, you don't have any cooldowns left. Now, based on the strength in bot side, they end up countering with strength in top. It looks like they're going to go for a re-engage. Missing's going to try to get a knock-up. Ziggs got all these cooldowns, but it's not quite enough. And you see, here it is, the lack of damage to finish this off. Now, Ruler doesn't have flash, so is unable to secure this, and Alistar is able to survive. So they get out just barely. Neither side really bleeding out that much. But this, you have to favor Xayah in situations like this. Ziggs not going to be willing to take hits from the wave to hold that down, so it's going to crash. Ziggs will try to rebound this into a repush, rebound it back. Jason on 1 item is going to be strong. You see the early Merc Treads, because basically everyone who's visiting his lane is going to be magic damage, so he's playing against that. Sejuani going in for a full invade here, using Alistar, using the push power that Nico has. Nico is actually not even pressuring the Jace, going for the turret instead. Means that we have a huge gap coming out from Knight versus Scout. The Nico's got 11 CS and a plate to their name already. And Sejuani was able to get the invade. Now, Lilia is going back on the other side of the map and getting her own share in. Something that's worth shouting out, this Sejuani build. You see that we have Bami's Cinder into Giant's Belt, right? Not rushing to finish, instead opting for the extra health. We'll see if that causes a little bit of a lull in the damage. It might mean that we have an early Anathemas or something like this. They might go for Anathemas on Jace into Sunfire and Abyssal, right? Because the Abyssal Mask, very strong in this interaction, this trade. The problem is that it's not necessarily going to do enough in these fights. If you're the Sejuani, it's very hard to get in versus this poke comp, but if you have the Anathemas versus Jace and suddenly you can just block everything for the team, that becomes a big deal. So I expect this to be anathemas. It might also be Warmog's same reasoning, saying, hey, I don't mind taking all this extra damage because I'll just heal it back up and I can front for my team. But the question is going to be, is the combination of the split damage of Landry's and whatever lethality upgrades we get from Jace, is that going to be a big enough split that they're able to make chunks into this Sejuani? Taking stock of situation, we have nothing but Gore Drinker here. Kasante's got Bramble and probably going to be... But I don't know if they're going to finish Bomby Cinder here. Could. Doesn't need it for all the wave clear. Sunfire certainly makes for an easy laning phase for Kasante. One of the big things that came about here is the fact that Renekton was able to deny Lilia the red buff. Not something that we caught, but a minute ago, as Sejuani was taking Southern Quadrant red and Lilia was going for the counter invade, Renekton was able to get that red, giving themselves a huge advantage, but overpressing a little bit. Yes, you have got red buff, but that's still no good against 4 champions. I do believe that this plate was denied, though, that no one was able to get access to it. So a small victory right there. It takes away half of the presence of the kill. We'll see if this translates into anything like the Rift Herald, and it looks like it will. They're going to give the resources to everybody. Zika getting the majority of the share. You're always going to give it to the jungler too for planting it. We see Rod of Ages coming out from Lilia. All right, so I dig this. Here's the reasoning. A, Demonic Embrace is going to be good this game. B, you need to be a little bit tankier because you're one of the bodies that's shielding for your team to play poke. C, you don't want to give up on just tank stats because you have a poking ability too, right? The E on Lilia's got infinite range. You can create extra poking sources, and especially when you cast that E and it rolls out, it's got a nice slow meandering path. Once you see the direction that they're going to juke in, you can immediately shoot your Jace Shock Blast in that direction, right? And they either kite away and they move back into the path of the Lilia, or they come back. Now, it's not going to have extra Liandry's damage on it, for example, but having Demonic Embrace means that you're going to have plenty of extra chunks of damage. She's going to be just fine in the tankiness department. She'll be moving around, and as this game moves into this position where they're just going to keep on sieging, I'm actually really curious here from Ziggs. As they're continuing to keep on sieging, that extra health is really going to matter to keep enemies away. Ziggs doing Ziggs things. You always want to bring Ziggs over to whatever lane you drop the Rift Herald in because it is such an easy pop. He also has access to his teleport, which he's not using right now. It's actually Kasante. Is Kasante going to go straight back? They may swing immediately into this bot wave. I expect them to keep the Kasante here for a moment. You can actually bring everybody into bot, use pressure, make sure that you muscle yourself into this side of the map, and able to get more plates in range. But the safer more stock play is going to be putting Ziggs in mid, which is what they're going to do. They've got the completed Liandry's Anguish and boots for Ziggs. So Ziggs feeling real big right now. So glad to see this champion in play. Not going to be able to get any more plates for themselves. So they do... I'm not going to call it the minimum, but based on the fact that you got Herald, the fact that you only got 5 plates and 1 turret as a Ziggs team with Herald, and the early spikes of Lilia and Jace, kind of surprising. And even Rel and Kasante, right? This team probably could have gotten more. If I'm JDG, I'm happy with my 2 dragons and only down 1k. I'm really happy with this early game. Sejuani's working on their ability to just stand in the face of all this poke. Ziggs doesn't have the same long range potential that Jace does. Yes, you can cast more spells on a shorter cooldown, but basically you're never going to be in range of hitting Nico or Xayah anyways. We see early Radiant Virtue. Kind of going for the opposite, saying, hey, once we get that all in, I want to get that extra health back for my team. Bomby Cinder's enough for the clearing. I want to make sure that if we do get into a fight, that I'm undoing all of the poke that you guys had for your comp. I'm not sure how I feel about this compared to the alternatives. I think it's fine right now. Oh, we get the engage, we get the root, knock back, chain CC onto Gala. Doesn't die though, is able to pop himself out, and we get the ultimate a little bit early, probably. Yeah, you know, it's not important to get it to land it on the teleport as it's coming in. But able to keep themselves awake and alive means that they're going to be able to reset. No teleport available either. If I'm Ziggs, I'm moving over to bot side. Jace should come over to middle. 3 champions into the east side. River, take control of the blue. Make sure to get the blue for Jace or for Ziggs so that you have this poke advantage. And then you can move over and try to actually just get this turret while you're securing the dragon position. They end up doing the minimal version of that. Casante's over. Casante's not the guy I want taking it. Not only does he deal the least amount of damage to the turret, but also he's the guy that I want in the front if we're getting into a bush versus bush check situation. So I actually don't like LNG's position here at all. Now you have Ziggs and Jace in middle versus Xayah. Not the worst situation for Xayah to be in. You also have Knight with teleport available, able to push. So you're not really getting that much for yourself. I'm really curious if they're going to get anything out of this. You also have Merc Treads from Lilia. Okay, that's fine. You're still one of the bodies in front. You don't want to get stun locked. Just taking stock for a moment, everything that's going on. They end up getting Dragon without even needing to pull Jace over. So that's one for 2. That's going to take away one of the potential wins for JDG. We're rushing them into this position like, hey, we'll be strong, Sejuani. And this is why I was talking about that Radiant Virtue. If you actually played for something like Warmogs here, or Anathemas, and said, hey, I can face off against your poke. You feel strong. We can siege. I can hold the line against this, and we have 2 fantastic flankers. So if you go for this much stronger frontlining item, like the Warmogs, like the Anathemas, especially Anathemas because it's so cheap too, and you say, I can front, I'm going to let my team move around and get into position. I don't know. I really feel like that would have been the better advantage. You've already got enough clear from the Bomby Cinder, right? That's impacting your clear speed. You're good. And your team could have withstood the push here and actually just sieged for this dragon. And maybe put yourself in a spot where you can fork them later. So instead we don't. And now we might have a spot where it's going to be like, all right, now that we've given up this dragon, it's not a very consequential one, but now that we don't have this tempo to necessarily end the game as fast as we wanted to, now we're going to have to face down this poke versus Ziggs, Lilia, and Jace. They're going to be on 2 items next time that we get into a poking scenario. It's going to hurt that much more, and Sejuani does not have the resource generation to get enough out of this. Let's see, Chain CC versus Nico. It's going to be enough, actually. Beautifully done. Yeah, this is looking LNG favored right now. Ziggs is going to be very strong in these pokes. Jace is going to look strong in these pokes. Sieging's going to be good. Lilia's going to be kiting around this fight. If you're JDG, you're looking for that flank. You want Sejuani in front. You want Nico and Renekton hammer and anviling together. Xayah with self-peel, Alistar with peel. They should, I mean, I just wish they had 3 dragons on that they'd force this situation. Ooh, trying to hold out. Oh, all out on 369. They're trying to get the maximum here. Renekton's just willing to hold on to this. Look at all this damage being loaded up front. That is Liandry's burn. It's not going to be quite enough, and he's going to be able to heal himself off this wave. Not tremendously, but he's going to be able to do enough, get the wave pushed, and get his recall in and teleport. I'm not sure that Zika needed to do all of that in that fight. Now you've got Radiant gone. You've got multiple ultimates burned. 3 ultimates versus 3. Lilia's going to be able to heal up in the jungle just fine. And then you're going to have this Zig Jace poke again. I like that Renekton does not use the teleport yet. Cassante, Jace, and Ziggs all have teleport available. Knight does not. So we do have a macro advantage as well as the capacity to just get into a stagnant poke situation in the 1-3-1. So these pokers are looking to hold an area, poke in, keep you at arm's length away while they have the teleports pushing off into the side lanes. If you're the Renekton, if you're Nico, you need to be able to get the maximum in these 1v1s. The onus is going to be on you to get these outplays. Might be a little bit more difficult, easier said than done. Renekton's going to have a tough spot. Does finish his Black Cleaver, which will help to chew through Cassante. Now, interestingly, from Cassante this game, going for the Rush Thornmail. This is not something we see basically ever, because it's, cutting heals is one of the worst stats in the game, and unless you have very specific reason to do it. Finishing Thornmail first. Normally you see Bramble Vest because it does most of the job by itself, and then you see the other pieces, and maybe they finish Thornmail third. But going for an early rush Thornmail only now finishing Iceborne Gauntlet, but is going to feel very strong now. With Iceborne and Thornmail, they can step up and only needs to worry about the Nico up front. But does Nico have enough damage to chew through just the HP? Another thing worth noting is that we're going to see a Void Staff second from that, and they're not stacking MR, they're stacking HP. So does Nico actually have enough in these situations? Oh, there's the flank. They got the knock up. Oh, this is what they wanted. Nico actually flying over that wall in the showdown, and really awkward positioning there from LNG. How do they even allow this? I want to see the position walking up to this spot. Now the poker is here. Jace is actually not coming, so this might be split calls. I don't know what Jace is actually really thinking here. They do have enough time where they could have actually stalled for this play and gotten their team in position for respawns. Instead, opts to go for mid guaranteed and bot guaranteed. So it is a fine play. You are getting something back, and yes, this play is totally fine. But comparing that to actually stopping the Baron play, and Baron is anathema to the poke comp, right? The amount of pressure that you get from Baron means that you basically never need to worry about it. Now, Scout saying, I want one more resource. Does he have to flash out? He probably needed to flash there. They're thinking about it. Danger. Scout saying, I want the guaranteed resources of 2 turrets. That's fine. I'll take it because it's guaranteed. Lilia, you can go slow him down a little bit. But it would be interesting to get down those timers, because if they had decided to poke and prod and keep them in that area, yes, it's 3v5. Main CC is just absolutely beautiful there. You can see, like, mana bars on Jace, too high. Lilia, all resources still there. They basically got nothing off in the poke comp, right? You don't want these all-ins. Walking themselves into a little bit too much of a choke. It does look like we'll see actually. No. Is this going to be a Spirit Visage? Spirit Visage to synergize with Radiant. Not going for Abyssal. So going for the maximum amount of upfront health stats, the ability to just heal back up against this poke. Don't know how I feel about it. The Abyssal would help the all-in damage. It doesn't give you tons from the Xayah and the Renekton. It does help the Nico out a lot, but Nico's mostly the singular source of AP damage here. You'd like to be able to help them out. We do have the Void Staff, but again, like we said, mostly it's HP stacking. It's not resistance stacking here from the side of LNG. So I don't actually hate their position right now. Beautifully played there by LNG. Tarzan getting everything. They used the drowsy. It's like, all right, you're going to sleep. All right, we'll drop the bomb. Coincide our damage so that it's bop happening at the exact same time means that they get the pick on Knight. And this abyssal staff, or this not the abyssal, the void staff coming out from Nico. If there's a point of weakness, it's going to be this. Very, very low damage output. Now it does future proof you a little bit, but that being said, like look at the resistance on the enemy team. There's really not that much. There's not enough to warrant it. Now, sort of similar on the other side. If you're Ziggs, love me a void staff against Sejuani, for example, when you're chunking through this damage. Also love the Leandries, because if we do get into a late game Warmog situation, it does, stick on for that extra time, keeps them in combat that much longer so that they don't get the regen as quickly. But comparing it to like the turret taking power of going Rabadons into Lichbane, we might see that come up. Also, this damage, right? We want damage to stick, not on Sejuani. It's not about necessarily chewing through Sejuani. You may have to force some amount of damage to go through this champion anyways, but you need to also threaten the other guys. It can't just be about let's all build to chew through Sejuani. You also need to be able to kill the other guys, and they're not building resistances. All right, big poke wars, setting up for Dragon, 1 versus 3. Not the end of the world if you give up this soul. But how much are you willing to commit? Now, we do see missing Alistar even looking for a flank angle, using Sejuani as a solitary front-to-back threat, saying Alistar with a flash pulverize is actually more impactful than Renekton going for a single target stun lockdown. Renekton can be the other front with the Sejuani. Now, we do want to keep them there. Ziggs ultimate only hitting 1. Now we can reposition. Now let's take a moment and just take stock of everything that's going on right now. You see this right here? Split. Pretend like your Sejuani splitting in 2. It throws a little bit of discomfort, maybe in the eyes of Scout. Probably not, because they've got the eyes right here. But you're basically committing to this situation where you're saying, all right, we're here. We've taken a lot of the poke damage, but we want to stick and make you guys forced to fight. Unfortunately for JDG, this is what LNG wanted. 5 full health bars and chunk, right? We've got multiple chunks down. We're not in position as Nico here, and we have Scout actually holding down the fort for this angle. So we're actually going to get another source of chunk damage coming in, and we're not going to be able to get in this angle where we can just like flash over, go for a flash proto belt start. See if they reconvene, they reposition. Do they actually try to get out of this situation? Dragon resets, they're going in, they're saying all in for the soul, and we're going to play this soul at low health. Try to extract. Maybe we lose 1. No, not even. What is this miscommunication right here? Oh, LNG, you got to be able to get more right there. You've pushed them up. You've gotten in the situation where they have to retreat. You are not into that choke for the all-in yet. Could have gotten more. Ruler going for the maximum. Cleanse down, self-ult down. And now you just end up with this, we can go in, we can't go in, I'm in and out, I'm in and out. LNG misses their window. JDG walks a tightrope, and now you can say unconditionally that they have a winning position for themselves, have the Dragon Soul, have the gold lead. Ruler is huge. Is going to be missing some of the resources here. Gets that extra auto attack. You see how good this guy is on everything he does. Getting that extra auto, like how many people in the world get that 1 extra auto in before casting the ultimate? And now Poke Team playing from behind is just kind of miserable. Yeah, sure, you've got Demonic Embrace and you've got Leandries, but it's not enough. This is another thing, like when you play towards your items. All right, we'll wait and watch this fight, this standoff. Got Baron for themselves. They're willing to sacrifice 1. Alistar's going to bite it for this. No big deal. But when you're playing towards your items and playing towards your position, we have a Jace also in this game with Duskblade that's not willing to int for a Duskblade proc. Right, like you need to be willing to chunk in. You say, all right, we've got a big damage lead. I'm going to come in, I'm going to pop you, and I'm going to go invulnerable. And we just haven't had that window, haven't been willing to do it. Alistar ends up inting to the turret while the waves aren't in a good spot to try to get this death reset. in a position where they don't get anything back. LNG is able to get a little bit back for themselves. 2,500 gold though, versus Baron, versus Soul, versus a team that's going to scale for them in the fight. And it's like, it's so hard to play this triple poke when you've got multiple sources that, you know, basically any of these champions can sandwich you. Alistar, Sejuani, and Renekton are all willing to bite down on the clamps. Really interested to see what Kanavi buys next. Going to sit on this Bomby Cinder all game, by the way. You do not need to have Sunfire. You're using Bombies just to help you with your clear. That's something that a lot of people don't realize, that you're getting the majority of the damage from the item anyways. So unless you're also getting meaningful stats from Sunfire, usually in a top lane rush situation, you're not really in a spot where you need to get the rest of Sunfire. As junglers especially can just go Bombies and then go into the rest of their build. And we've seen that in these fights, the Radiant Virtue has been fantastic. They've been playing for the all-in and doing well in the all-in. I think LNG's been opening the door for that. But JDG has built for and is pursuant to that kind of play pattern. It's like, okay, you open the door, we're going to find our win. Sure, you've got nice poke, but you don't really have anything else for us here. Now 4K gold lead, going to keep on pressing. Got 28 seconds left on the Baron. They're going to get one more push here. You do see that they have control wards placed as blue team, trying to stop the transitions between mid to bot. And they do have Jace damage, Jace being one of the best champions in the game at beating out Baron Nashor. Bonuses, K'Sante also being able to pull minions toward yourself, Ziggs doing the same. So it is still a poke team. It is still hard to siege against them since they have the split damage types. But they end up getting both the inners. That's going to be 2K gold in their pockets coming out here. And they're going to reset with 4K in pocket. 3 minutes till the Baron, a minute and a half till Elder. They're going to try to work out with their wallet, get into a position where you force a member from LNG into the top lane. Once they're in top lane, you're going to try to take control of Southern Quadrant and say, hey, are you willing to come in here? You have to use all your abilities and all your vision. Trinkets to try to even get a semblance of protectiveness or just feeling safe in this area. You can see that LNG tried right away. They're like, okay, we've got a window. I have to go get wards in. But they didn't actually sweep one of the wards behind them, which will give Renekton or Nico a teleport avenue to get behind him. Now, they will get spotted by that control ward, but that doesn't mean that the threat is not there. Now, LNG needs to get mid-prio, needs to be able to secure this angle for themselves so that they can throw spells down river without ever getting into a position where they are threatened by the flank from Alistar or from Renekton. As we saw last time, they're probably going to be willing to just put their bodies in the way. Soak up the maximum, use Radiant Virtue. We might see one Nico hoorah play. He was playing for this all-in. We see the all... Nope, Nico splitting, but no, they just get K'Sante. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a bad time now. With no K'Sante to front, they're using just Rel on support economy, which is not a tank at all. You have decent frontline, like some capacity, we'll call it. I'm not even going to call it decent. Lilia can be the body in front with all of this extra HP, plus the fact that they've got stopwatch, but they really don't have an avenue in. I like the play to try to go in and try to go for a 50-50 on the smite, but this is going to be a JDG just closing down the clamps on this game. Flashing forward to secure this kill. You do have GA. Should get a second application right now. Does get the kill back. That's actually a pretty big deal. He's able to get a kill back for themselves. But with two people on 30 plus second kill timers, it's not actually going to matter. That's going to be game. I don't like how LNG played this mid to late game. Could have gotten more. Got the minimum. Good props by JDG. Only giving 5 plates up to the Ziggs. Never giving that window to go for anything more. and really just punishing every window that has been there, right? You give me an open door, I'll walk right through it all series long. Well played. JDG is going to be a strong team at Worlds. Doesn't look quite as strong as Gen G.